In the round. This is Mayor Shave. It's Wednesday, June 28th, 2023 at 6:30, and I call the Aberdeen City Council meeting to order. Deputy City Clerk, will you please take a roll call?
Ellis?
Pleasure to be here.
Francie?
Here.
Dakin?
Here.
Catchman?
Here.
Warren? Mackey?
Here.
Morrison?
Here.
Garcini? Here. Ross?
Here.
Shaw?
Here.
Cedar?
Here.
Taylor? Shave?
Here.
Thank you.
I move that we excuse council members Lawrence and Taylor who are sick tonight.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to excuse council members Lawrence and Taylor. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. I'd also like to acknowledge in our audience tonight, Senator Wilson. Good to have you here, sir. Violet Morrison, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council President Catchman.
I move that we approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Mayor Shave, is this the proper time to offer a correction?
To the agenda?
Yes. Item number 2 from Public Works, we need to adjust the name of the project from the Sumner Avenue project to the US 12 Highway Rail Separation Project. And I make a motion, that's what I'll be making.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. I'm trying to follow what we just did, number 2.
Yeah.
Oh, that the name, the title be changed in item 2 under Public Works to the US 12 Highway Rail Separation Project. Any discussion?
Isn't that what it already says? It says Sumner Avenue, US 101 pedestrian improvements.
That's
Oh,
It's correct in the
That's the
notes, but
correct-
it's incorrect on the published packet.
Oh.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now for the
Is it consent agenda?
approval of the
Public
agenda.
comment period?
It's after all.
Consent agenda, right?
Yes.
I move we approve the consent agenda, which includes minutes from the June 14th, 2023 meeting, accounts payable and payroll.
A second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public comments. Any comments from the public? Come up to the podium, please. 3 minutes. Please state your name and your ward that you live in, if you know. And if you're on Zoom, click on raise your hand. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I hope everybody can hear me. Last time was difficult. My name is Deb Wilson, Ward 1. I'm the president of Leisure Management's Association in Aberdeen. Our thanks to the mayor and city council members for considering our ordinance request. And we hope that you follow other cities in our state to help support homeowners in manufactured home parks. Special thanks goes to Ruth Clemens. She really got this done for us, and we put a lot of extra time into it to try and get it right. Imagine, if you will, you're 70, 80, 90 years old, your body isn't nimble, and activities take you longer than they used to. Then you learn your rent is increasing 37% in 3 months. Well, you're on a fixed income, you have no family, you have no cash for new rental deposits, no cash to move your home. 3 months to move 10, 20, 30 years of life in this home that you own. Our biggest ask of the City Council is to extend the notification timeframe. Give a senior citizen extra time to try and sell their home, save them from becoming homeless, protect the senior neighborhood, provide a small amount of comfort to worried seniors as we worry about what will happen to us. Thank you for considering all aspects of this ordinance. We absolutely support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council, staff, and constituents. My name is Jeff Wilson. I'm your state senator. I reside in Cowlitz County. So it's a 3-hour journey back to my home. So I'm spending this week in Grays Harbor to conduct business. And one of the topics I'd like to offer up to you in the community tonight is that next week is one of my favorite times of the year, the July 4th celebration. It affects everybody in the United States. Even though we celebrated on the 4th, the 2nd is real that famous day in history for the signing. But you know, from me to you, you have a wonderful community. I'm proud and honored to represent. I'm a little jealous. I don't reside here at times, but a little bit of diesel in the truck, and I'm able to come up here to visit you and conduct business. And above all, I want all of you to have a very safe and happy 4th of July. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, I'm Carolyn Hardy, the Secretary of Leisure Manor Tenants Association, and we're here tonight to witness and show support for the first reading of the proposed ordinance, Bill 2311, as stated in the agenda on pages 59, 60, 65, 66, 67, and 68. A little refresher is, since my husband and I moved into Leisure Manor, the yearly rent increase consisted of about $10 to $20. Imagine how shocked we were when Hearst and Sons LLC, the new landlords of our park, raised our rent $150 a month and stopped covering the garbage pickup, which is $28 a month every 2 months. Well, we paid $28 every 2 months. And that's almost a $180 increase without notice. We have not been officially notified as of yet, but hear that there is another rent increase of $85 coming around the bend. And some of us don't know how we're going to be able to handle another increase. We are senior citizens, elderly, some of us handicapped, bedridden, on fixed incomes, who have raised our families, saved, worked hard all our lives, and now we just want to enjoy our golden years in peace. We shouldn't have to be stressed over high rent increases every year and wonder if we'll lose our home and become homeless because of the greed and corruption of these big corporate uncles, these big corporate bullies. We could be your parents, your grandparents, your aunts and uncles, your neighbor, or your friend. How would you like it if your family was treated this way? Not only do we have to worry about the rent increase, not having enough time to sell our home, losing our home, but always being threatened with a $65 fine if you're one day late on your rent, parking on the street overnight, using too much water. Those are just a few examples. We are adults living in what we thought would be our forever home. The thought of trying to see and move makes me ill. All we want to do is live in peace and respect, enjoy our grandchildren's the time we have left. We hope that In Bill 2311, putting a cap on fines will provide a little relief to our residents. We really appreciate the time and effort our city council, and especially Ruth Clemens and Casey Morrison, for taking so much time to help us come up with a fair ordinance, protecting us from the landlord. Since we were last here, we have attempted corresponding with Hearst and Sons, but they did not answer our correspondence sent via USPS certified mail. They don't want to talk or negotiate with us. We have been working very closely with AMHO, Washington Low Income Housing Authority, trying to get rent stabilization passed, and we're getting close. Ann Sandler with AMHO, Associated Manufactured Homeowners, and Ishbel Dickinson are on Zoom waiting to speak, and I hope that they are given the chance to speak this evening. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to working with you, passing this ordinance and getting it into place. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Bill Hardy. I live in Ward 1 also, which is where Leisure Manor is located. And a number of our residents have come here tonight. Can I get a show of hands of the people in the audience besides me who live at Leisure Manor? There's a whole bunch of us here to support the city council action tonight. Now, when we were here on May the 24th, I think it was, we left the meeting a bit frustrated that we weren't going to get any action on our proposal. In the meantime, our city administrator, Ruth Clemens, got along with the city attorney, and we worked out a package which I think is going to protect the city and give some protection to us. It's a little less than we were looking for, but I still think we support this bill because this is better than leaving the status quo the way that it is. And we are also hoping that at some point, some of you people from the city will be willing to testify before the legislature next January and February when the bills that did not go through this year that would have put some reasonable restrictions on excessive increases. Those bills they died before they got to the floor of the House. And I am hoping that they will go through this coming year because they are badly needed by the residents of our state, not just us people who live in mobile home communities. So anyway, that's what I would like to see tonight. We'll stick around and see if the first reading of the bill goes through. We are definitely planning to come to the public hearing when the second reading takes place in a few weeks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? There's one on Zoom. Okay.
Patty Thomas, Ward 5, and I am here to discuss the shopping cart containment and retrieval. And I would like to thank you, Ruth especially, for bringing this forward and seeing to it that this is done. It was over a year and a half ago that I started working on this myself personally. And I went around and this is just a cliff note like I did of the code that we have. It's always been on the books, and we have a code that there's no reasons for these carts to be all over town like they have been. And I did a public disclosure April of 2022, and what I requested was they have a fine if the city picks up the carts, put them down at the water department, and they're noticed, and they have so much time to come and pick them up at a $30 fee. Then they have so much time after that if they don't. In addition to the $30 fee, they get I think it was a $70 fee. Well, now I believe that they're changing it to 50 and 20. I'm not quite sure about that. But what I found out, I asked for it going back to the beginning of 2019, and I wanted to know how many carts they retrieved, how much money they collected, and what was done with the funds. The answer I got back was this. In April of 2019, they picked up one cart and collected $30 from Home Depot. Now, that I just asked going back from 2019, and they got one in 2019. But I do believe the last few years, we saw hundreds of carts out there and nothing ever being done about it. And all these excuses, and there is no excuse. There is no excuse. So I do thank Ruth for doing this, and I do hope that the city council takes the time to see that each of their wards, that the cards are picked up and that it's not done, and to ride the city. You know, the employees of the city work for the people, and to see to it that that is taken care of, because that right there would solve a lot of problems. And now I think there's some issues going on with the ACLU that is going to step in and try and put a boomerang in that. So that's going to be a lot of stuff to do, but I do hope we let council go through with that and take care of the matter as it should be, and let the courts decide it and not people. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? We're gonna go to the one on Zoom. It's been waiting for a while. What, how do you, I can't see. Isabel? Ishbel.
Good evening, Mayor and Aberdeen City Council members. As an aside, I was born in Aberdeen, Scotland, so it's lovely to have this connection with you all. My name is Ishbel Dickens, and I have been working with manufactured homeowners as a volunteer, as a community organizer, as an attorney, and now that I'm retired, I continue to volunteer with the Association of Manufactured Homeowners to help address the issues in manufactured housing and the inequity that that brings with it. Thank you for caring about your constituents. It is apt that as June is National Homeownership Month, you are looking at ways to help seniors and low-income families stay in their homes. The proposal brought by the Leisure Manor homeowners is modest. All they are asking for is more time, up to 180 days for rent increases of more than 10%. Their homes are not movable, and they will need as much time as possible to plan for their futures when they are economically evicted because of their ever-increasing rents. Likewise, a 1.5% late fee is reasonable as well. In fact, the City of Seattle just passed an ordinance recently that has a cap at 10%, $10 on any late fee charge. And you need to know that when landlords take the late fee out, they take it out of the current rent. They take out the late fees first, and then they take the rest as rent. And so it's very hard for tenants to ever come current with rent because they're always having to pay off that late fee, and they get another late fee because they haven't made up their rent. So 1.5% is very reasonable. And if you can even stretch it to $10 max, that would be even better. The homeowners want their surroundings and their property to be maintained. They maintain their homes, but they are not responsible for the roads, the upkeep of the infrastructure, or anything like that. And I would suggest that you might look to the city of Boulder. They have a slumlord ordinance, if you like, which specifically addresses the conditions in manufactured housing communities. A lot of jurisdictions have slumlord ordinances for apartments, but it might be worth looking for an additional piece to your rental inspection program to make sure that manufactured housing communities are maintained and upkept as well. Now, I know that the mobile home landlord-tenant law governs much of the tenant-landlord relationship at the state level, but there are a lot of local options that a city can look at. For instance, several jurisdictions in Washington have enacted local mobile home park zoning ordinances as an additional way to preserve mobile manufactured housing communities and protect existing affordable homes. I'd be more than happy to talk with any of you later about additional help you might want to give your constituents, but in the meantime, I urge you to support all of their requests. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me this evening, and good luck with your deliberations.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I think most of you know me. My name is Deborah Hodgkin. I'm in Ward 4. I'm usually here talking about the same subject over and over and over again. So I'm going to address it again tonight. I'm glad to see Doug here because Doug can back me up on this. When we moved here to start the driving school, we started in the Aberdeen mansion, which was zoned commercial because it was a bed and breakfast. But the city wanted it, they preferred to have us downtown. So they said, we'll give you 6 months to get yourself established. And they sent out letters to everyone in the neighborhood surrounding the Aberdeen mansion, you know, letting them know that we were gonna be there, we were driving school, we'll be creating too much traffic, et cetera, et cetera. And after 6 months, you know, the city called and said, we really want you to move downtown. You know, the neighbors feel like you're making a little bit too much traffic. And at the time, you know, we had a handful of students and we were only there 6 hours a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for 2 hours at a time. So we moved downtown. Our next experience with the city was when we decided to build a parking cover over our parking pad. And all of my neighbors were notified that this was our plan to build a little cover over our parking pad, and was that okay with them, you know, if we did that? And this was on our property. I thought that was interesting. The experience that I have had, our business, our school has had over and over again, is the nonprofits in the area, you know, or the city moving the homeless population by our school. The first time it happened when they moved off the river and they moved into the city hall parking lot, and we were in Wilkeville. And I think you've heard me talk before that it cleared out our building within a year or two. Everyone who was renting there left. We were the last to leave the building because of all the problems. And I could spend too much time talking about all the things that we experienced associated, you know, with that population. The next thing that happened, you know, so we moved, you know, out of the downtown area because it just had gone on for too long, and we tripled our expenses and moved up to Broadway. And then this last year, they wanted to put the warming shelter in the church right next door in the parking lot, you know, right next door to our school, and I protested that, you know. Sorry, my watch is talking to us. And I appreciate the city supporting us on that. About 3 weeks ago, I showed up at school and our parking lot was completely full of people. They had moved one of the lunch programs to the church next door to us. They didn't allow them in the church. They were all in the parking lot. There were people in our parking lot for 4 hours. We had our hose stolen. People were shooting up and we had to call the police. They were smoking marijuana. They were getting into verbal altercations with each other. The F-bombs were flying. My parents were panicking, you know, that are waiting in the parking lot for their students to do their drive lesson. And then the last thing that happened was one of them that came for lunch hit my office manager's car as he was leaving his parking space. And nicely, Catholic Services decided to move it to their own facility, which they have a building located right next door to the Catholic Church, which is probably where it should have been to begin with. So what I'm wondering is, you know, when the city notifies people that something's happening, like a driving school at the old, you know, at the Aberdeen mansion, or we're gonna build a parking cover over our pad, you know, why cannot the city notify businesses that they're planning on putting a cold weather shelter or a luncheon program right next door to someone's business? Because they, I think, should have as much of a right to say that that might present a problem for them, especially when they have a lot of children.
It's almost time.
So
Time's up.
I think Doug can put his 2 cents in if he wants to, because he experienced a lot of things with that as well.
Thank you.
One more on Zoom.
There's one more on Zoom. And go ahead.
Yes. Hello. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak this evening. My name is Ann Sadler. I'm the president of the Association of Manufactured Homeowners, AMHO. And we are a statewide organization. We represent and protect the rights and interests of manufactured homeowners, and also help them to preserve their communities. And I would like to, I'm here to be in solidarity with the Leisure Manor homeowners to support their Bill 2311. And also, I just wanted to say that I spent 4 days in Yakima, Washington, and also in Kennewick, Washington, visiting 10 Hearst and Son LLC communities. and they are in very bad disrepair. I also want to reiterate that in order for the homeowners at Leisure Manor to maintain their homes there, we're going to have to put some kind of cap on the rent. They're asking for a rent increase. They're asking for longer notice of rent increase. 120 days written notice for rent increases greater than 3%, and 180 days written notice for rent increases greater than 10%. I agree with Ishbel Dickens in that the late fees are outrageously high, and we're asking that they be reduced to 1.5% late fees, or better yet, $10. And the reason that they're asking for this longer notice of rent increase is that a lot of these people will have to sell their homes and move out. Where will they go? Well, they're usually absorbed by family, if they're fortunate to have children that will take them in. Subsidized housing, 3-year wait, 3 to 5 year wait now for subsidized housing. And I'd like to end with a statement that manufactured housing communities are the last vestige of affordable housing for people that is not government subsidized. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Stephanie Bailey. I live at 509 Leisure Circle. I am on a fixed income. I have a bedridden daughter and a 3-year-old granddaughter living with me. There's not an adequate parking for disabled. If we park in front of our home, it's a $65 fine. Where are the caregivers supposed to park? If they park in front of our home, we get fined for it. The rent increase, it's outrageous. A person with living on SSI or SSDI, it's impossible for us to live there. If the rent increase keeps going the way it's going and the fines keep going the way they're going, I'm unfortunately gonna have to sell my home, and then where am I gonna go? Because there's nothing that I can afford to buy with what I would get out of my home. I can't afford to move it because they're gonna charge me $10,000 if I decide to move my double wide to a private piece of land. I support and beg you all, please consider this. Please understand that a lot of us cannot afford to lose our home, but we can't afford to keep paying these $65 fines and being disabled, not being able to park in front of your home without being charged $65 when you have caregivers that have no place to park. And if there is a place to park, a lot of times they have to walk plumb across the other side of the facility to get to your home. Paratransit. I got fined $65 because paratransit parked in front of my house to pick up my daughter to take her to the doctors. I got charged $65 fine because I power washed the front of my home to get ready to paint it. Well, if we were told that we have to maintain our homes, if we clean the outside of them, naturally you're gonna power spray before you paint, or the paint's not gonna stick. Well, I got charged $65 fine because I power sprayed the front of my house. So please consider capping whatever you can cap to help us. Us senior citizens need it bad. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll move on to public hearings. We have a public hearing on bill number 2306, an ordinance amending AMC 20.20.280, updating the fine amounts for various parking violations. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Motion was made and seconded to open the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any- The public hearing is open. This is on the subject of various parking violations, updating the fines. Seeing none,
I move we close the public hearing.
motion was made and seconded to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is closed. Next item is public hearing on bill number 2307, an ordinance establishing a new chapter AMC 15.40 related to maintenance of vacant commercial buildings in the downtown business district.
Move we open the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to open the public hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is now open on discussion of maintenance of vacant commercial buildings in the downtown business district.
Seeing no one, I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is closed. Next item, moving on to public hearing on bill number 2309, an ordinance amending Aberdeen Municipal Code 8.08 relating to shopping cart containment and retrieval.
I move we open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to open the public hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to speak on this one?
Thomas, 45. In my understanding on the new ordinance, what I read from it is that you're adding the responsibility to the shopping cart owner to put their name, address, and everything to identify that it's their cart on there. And also have a retrieval program that they're responsible for. They have to file it with you or anything else. Is the rest of the ordinance staying the same? Also, there was an increase in, I think, from $30 to $50. And it showed in there, I was reading it on my phone, and it showed in there where I think the 70 went to 20, or did they mean the 20 to go to 70? And it got crossed out.
This is actually a public hearing, so we're just,
Oh, you can't?
yeah,
answer
yeah,
any
but I
questions?
can definitely talk to you afterward.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion was made seconded to close public hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing's closed. We did the consent agenda, so we'll move on to mayor's report. Last week went to Spokane for Association of Washington Cities. It was actually a great time. It's been a while since I've been to one of those in Spokane. Brought back some fond memories. We went to, I was going to bring that in here so I could read off the classes that I went to. Everybody went to different classes so we could share the experiences, and there was a lot of good stuff that we learned there. I'll share that as we move forward through the rest of this year. But I also wanted to point out that, oh yeah, I wanted to mention a company that I met there at Spokane, called Aptigee, and they do all the media. They create a media site which covers phone, app, website, the whole thing for the city. It's kind of expensive, but they take care of everything. And they're on duty to help you out at any time. It's a one-stop. Anything you're changing on any of it, your phone app or the website, you can do from one site. Who's ever overseeing that. It's pretty expensive, but I just thought I'd mention it because we talked about updating that, and this was an idea. It was the only one that I saw over there that was doing this kind of thing, so thought I'd mention that. Also, speaking of AWC, coming up August 10th and 11th is the AWC Budgeting and Fiscal Management Workshop in Leavenworth. And I think some of us have gone to that before. It was a pretty good workshop. So if anybody's interested in that, you sign up for it. Also, I passed around, I didn't have enough for everybody, but I passed around some pictures of our sign, Aberdeen, that's over the bridge coming into town. It's the sign on the big concrete block. And it's getting kind of shabby looking. It's past its prime actually for the life of that type of a application. So I was approached by Tim Quigg and Jack Root. Jack made the sign that's on the bridge and installed it for us, donated it, and they want to donate a new one. And so I passed around a sample that they want to put up there. And quite frankly, I told them no.
Thank you.
Because the sign that they're proposing is, for one thing, it's too busy. And for two, it advertises the ocean, beaches, and everybody else. So welcome to Aberdeen, here's the way to somewhere else. And so I said, no. The sign that's on the bridge is historic, for one thing. We put that sign on there the way it is. The colors are a little different from the original, but that's what the original said. Welcome to Aberdeen, gateway to the Olympics. And that's what I think should stay on there. Just keep it simple and original like that. I think the colors could definitely be improved to Aberdeen colors like blue and gold. So that's what I'm pushing for, but I wanted to pass that around so everybody had a say and could see that. I told Mr. Quigg and Mr. Ruth that I don't know what the council will say, but I'm not interested. So he said, well, we're gonna donate this. And I said, well, I'm not gonna be bought out by that. So okay. And was there anything else? I think that's it. So I'll move on to staff reports, city administrator.
Council report.
Oh, I missed council, yeah.
I just wanted to add to yours about the Washington City's annual conference. And I went with our city administrator and mayor and Deborah Ross, and she was able to carry our Aberdeen flag in the all cities flags, and she was really honored to do that. It was an exciting time, and we got some good pictures. But we met representatives from all over the state. There were mayors and city council members. The place was packed. It was great. And we were able to share with
each of the other council members and mayors the strengths and weaknesses from our own city, and tried to gain from them maybe our own weaknesses. And each day we were offered different classes, and there were I think I counted 40 classes altogether. And I was able to take 8 myself, but our team divided up and we tried to cover all the different areas. So, Mayor Shave might have gone to one class by himself, and our city administrator went to another class, and some of them we went together, but it was really exciting, and we learned a lot. The classes were ranging from funding with grants and loans and learning about, the new rezoning laws that we're facing with our state. And I know I was just grateful that we had this opportunity, and I would encourage anyone to go if you get the opportunity. I would jump on it again because it was educational. It gets you excited about your city and giving us fresh ideas of what we can do to generate new ideas and new businesses to come to our city. And I'm just thankful that I was given this opportunity with everyone. So that was it.
Thank you. Next year's AWC convention will be in Vancouver in June. Anyone else on the council? Councilmember Ross?
Well, I was just going to pipe in that I also attended the AWC conference. Really, really enjoyed it. I feel like we had a great opportunity to attend some super classes and learn from others, and looking forward to sharing some of that in the future.
Okay. Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, this coming 4th of July, the Seaport's looking forward to co-hosting a Splash Festival with the City of Aberdeen and other sponsors. And staff has been busy getting the Seaport ready for visitors again. And it's going to be a wonderful event. There'll be vendors and food and the beer garden again. So folks are encouraged to plan on coming by to spend part of the day and watch fireworks that evening. And then Founders Day Parade is the following Saturday, and Seaport will have one of their vessels in the parade, which will be a lot of fun, and looking forward to seeing everyone showing pride in our city and having a good time.
Thank you. Anyone else on the council? Seeing none, I will now move on to city administrator report.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the AWC conference with the mayor and Councilmember Pericini and Councilmember Ross. A couple classes that were of special interest that I've already kind of briefed the directors on was on AI, artificial intelligence. There are a lot of security risks associated with that, so it's something I was able to come back and talk to the team about, and hopefully be able to talk with our IT team to getting more information on that. That does pose a very real threat to all cities, especially those who aren't prepared to handle that. Government notoriously is about 10 to 20 years behind the private sector on security, so just FYI. Aberdeen, there's a lot of buzz going on around Aberdeen. A lot of cities were kind of aware of what we're doing. They were especially interested in the funding that we've received in the last year for a lot of our infrastructure projects. So statewide, people are kind of watching and listening to what Aberdeen's doing. So that's wonderful, wonderful to hear. So things are trending upward. And thank you.
Thank you. Any of the directors? Parks Director Barnum.
All right, so I just have a few things I wanted to update the council on. Here we go. Parks projects. We received a $5,000 grant from the Grays Harbor Community Foundation. 5 Star Dealerships is donating another $5,000 to cover the cost for the new scoreboard at Ken Wakefield. And I would like to point out that the Assistant Director, Austin Weber, that's his first successful grant that he has received. Good job, Austin. I told him his next application next year will be for $500,000, so he's got his work to do. I also wanted to thank Holtman Construction. They approached us actually last winter and wanted to volunteer their staff time to pressure wash and repaint the grandstands at Ken Wakefield and the concession stand building. And they did an amazing job. It looks great. So, and they cleaned the roof at the Little League field. So we appreciate them coming over and doing that. The Stewart's Park Trail is open up to the point of where the failing bridge is, so the public can start using the trail again. Staff did make some minimal repairs so that it would be safe, and throughout the rest of the summer and the fall, they'll continue work on all the structures along the trail as we work towards getting that bridge replaced. And I want to thank the Public Works Department. We have our new pedestrian access at Morrison Riverfront Park. I can't thank them enough. They have a very busy schedule this time of year, and they made this a priority. And they made it a priority so that it would be done before the 4th of July, because Morrison Park is full of people watching the fireworks show. So thank you to the Public Works Department. I think Nick is here, so thank you, Nick. Make sure that Rick knows that I gave a big thank you. We have lots of events this summer that were supported by the Aberdeen Lodging Tax Fund grants. Every Sunday, we've got the Sunday market downtown. As Councilperson Alice mentioned, we have Founders Day and the Art Walk coming up on July 8th. The More Right group is hosting for the first time a Hoop Dreams tourney. It's kind of along the lines of the 3-on-3 tourney that they do in Spokane. There'll be a vendor and car show on July 15th. On July 22nd is the Rainbow Festival in downtown. In August, we've got Summerfest Goes West. And in September, we've got the Grays Harbor Pride Festival. And those are all supported by Aberdeen's Lodging Tax Fund. I'm happy to say that the Washington State RCO visited the Little League remodel project, and we passed our final inspection. So that project is now complete, and they'll release the remaining of the grant funds. We received almost $300,000 for a new restroom building, new fencing, and new walkways around the new building. There will be a community celebration and ribbon cutting on Thursday, July 13th at the Little League field at 5:30 p.m. So I'm hoping you all can attend, and I'll also email you this invitation as well so that you have it. And as Councilperson Alice mentioned, we've got the Splash Festival on Tuesday, July 4th. It'll be located at the Grays Harbor Historical Seaport. We'll have the free inflatable rides from 12 to 6. We've got family entertainers, the Reptile Man, which I will have nothing to do with. Captain R and Louis Fox, who's a magician, will be performing throughout the afternoon. We'll have live music in the evening. We'll have the beer garden hosted by Steam Donkey, Grays Harbor Wine Cellars. We'll have lots of food vendors and food trucks. Boat tours provided by the Historical Seaport. The Y will be there doing kids games. And then of course, we have the huge fireworks show, which starts at approximately 10 p.m. and will be shot over the Chehalis River. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Barnum, did you want to, is it too premature to share kind of what the field is a, for the Little League state tournament?
Oh yeah, well, I will say that we are in the top 2. Aberdeen and Chehalis are, because of the work that we did to the Little League field, that field is now eligible for hosting championship tournaments. So we are in the top 2. Aberdeen and Chehalis are being considered to host the 12-year-old state tournament in August of 2024. So I may be coming to you, council members, to be doing some politicking to Little League states so that we can get the tournament here in Aberdeen. That's 20 teams from around the state of Washington.
Thank you. Also, bicycles will be running around here the end of July into 1st of August. They're going to meet over on F Street at the grade school, go around Wishkaw to Montesano and back, and then they're gonna do out to Westport and back. So
Yeah, we anticipate about 100 cyclists from Seattle. It's a bicycle club from Seattle, the Cascade Bike Club, that will be in town.
I'm gonna ride my bike over there and greet them. Don't run off, Fire Chief. I might need the ambulance. Yeah, that.
It's Canadian.
Any other directors have a report? Okay, moving on to requests for council action. Finance Department, Councilmember Pericini.
We don't have a report tonight. We have nothing to report.
Okay. Public Safety Chair report by Councilmember Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. So we met this evening at 6 o'clock for a very brief meeting. We do have a couple of agenda items. I do have two quick reports from the police department. We have had 15,600 calls to date for 2023, and we're still tracking a little less than 2022, but that's a lot of police calls. And they have 9 entry-level candidates in the portal, and this is open until the end of the month, so they're hoping for maybe a few more. And from the fire chief, he's hoping that we will all celebrate responsibly over the holiday weekend. This is a great time of year, and people like to have fun, but we need to stay safe. So please keep that in mind and have a safe and happy 4th of July. And now moving on to our items on the agenda. We have a request from Public Safety and the Chief of Police recommending that the City Council award the Police Department roof project to Washington Roofing Solutions, LLC. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report from Public Safety. Any discussion? Seeing none? All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Number 2, request from Public Safety and the Fire Chief recommending that the City Council approve the contract for fire suppression services between the City of Aberdeen and the Washington State Department of Corrections. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And we have a request from Public Safety and the Fire Chief recommending that the City Council approve the Fire Chief to apply for the Washington State Department of Labor and Industries FIRE grant program, and if awarded the grant, allow the Fire Chief to purchase 1 Rescue Intellitech Solo Rescue SCBA washer. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? This is a washer for their tanks and face masks and all that kind of equipment. When they come in from a fire, they have usually carcinogens and so on attached to their gear from the smoke, and so this is designed to wash that off. Is there any other discussion? Under discussion, Councilmember Shaw.
I really appreciated the thoroughness of the report. It makes it easy to come here tonight and support this. I also appreciated that while this is not a budgeted item, they pointed out in the report that it's not likely to result in a supplemental budget because they're going to find room within our $500,000 we budgeted for their improvements this year. So Thank you for all the information.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
And that's
Moving
it
on.
for public safety.
Thank you, Councilmember Ross. Moving on to Public Works, Chair report from Councilmember Shaw.
Thank you, Mayor. Public Works met yesterday, and we're just gonna move right into our agenda items. We had some discussions about ongoing projects and different things, but they're all related to the agenda items we're bringing forward tonight. So item number 1, we have a request from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign the amended interlocal agreement with the basin communities and the Chehalis River Basin Flood Authority in support of hazard reduction in the Chehalis River Basin. I move we adopt this report.
Second. Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, under discussion, go ahead,
I'll just
Councilmember.
add tonight, like I did for our committee yesterday, for those of us, for council members who might be new to this process, that the Chehalis Basin Flood Authority was the first champion of some of the projects that we are going to be embarking on. And it has really served the city well to be a member of this group. And to be in partnership throughout the basin has been a great thing, so.
That's a good word, and I support the importance of hearing that. We've got a lot of funding through this organization, and it's been very good. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2 from Public Works is a request from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council authorize the Mayor and Public Works Director to sign all standard Washington State Department of Transportation agreements relative to obligation and implementation of the US 12 Highway Rail Separation Project, and authorize the advertisement of requests for qualifications for the preliminary engineering phase and advertise for construction bids. I move we adopt this report.
Second. Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Shaw.
Yes, Mayor, since we have a lawmaker in the audience, I just want to thank the support of our local lawmakers for allowing us to accelerate this project. The state funding that we're receiving has, it was going to be a combination state and federal project, but the funding that we've received from the state has enabled us to fully fund it through the Department of Transportation, and because we don't have to wait on federal funding, we're going to see this project done sooner rather than later, and we're very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah. I smiled when this came up because it has been such a long road to get to where we're at now. And thank you, Senator Wilson, for all your support in this. It's really nice and to read this preliminary engineering and advertise for construction bids. It's been a long ways to get to that, so this is exciting. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next.
Special agenda items. There are 4 items tonight that came out of the Personnel Committee meeting. So I'll start with item number 1, which is a request from Personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council adopt the job description and classification of Human Resources Analyst, as well as the revised job description and pay range for the Human Resources Technician. I move that we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2 is a request from Personnel and the Chief of Police recommending that the City Council authorize the extension of the temporary paid assistance from former Deputy Police Chief Jay Staten through December 31st, 2023, and I move that we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
And item number 3 is a request from personnel and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council approve the request to hire another maintenance worker 1 for downtown cleanup not to exceed 2 years. I move that we accept this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Is there any discussion?
I have a question.
Under discussion, go ahead.
Is this related predominantly to the homeless camp issue, or is this general downtown cleanup and maintenance?
Yeah, currently we only have like one specific person dedicated to downtown cleanup. The others are kind of either seasonal workers or they're provisional workers, or they're temporary workers that only have a certain number of hours per month that they can work. This would give us another full-time worker to assist our current maintenance worker. He works alone most times. This is something that we wanted to address, not only from a labor perspective, because there is a lot of work to keep up with, but also from a safety perspective, because we would like our maintenance workers to, because they work very early in the morning, we would like them to be partnered up.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
And last up is a request from personnel and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council approve the inline promotion to a maintenance worker 3 for Tanner Jones. And I move that we accept this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to ordinances and resolutions. We have a resolution authorizing the mayor and human resources director to execute a labor contract with the Aberdeen Police Officers Guild for the years of 2023 through 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve this resolution. Any discussion?
Mayor, I'd just like to commend the work of Dave Luxembourg, who, and also of the union, who made a good faith effort to negotiate. But Dave Luxembourg, our contracted attorney, did a wonderful job, and he's worth his weight in gold.
And this is, we're done until 2025 now with this. Yay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
This will be resolution 2023-18.
18 resolutions. Next item is first reading of Bill 2310, an ordinance relating to the electrical code, amending section 15.36.040 of the Aberdeen Municipal Code.
So moved.
Motion was made and second to approve this resolution. Any discussion?
Just clarification, it's a first reading.
Yes, thank you. Councilmember Ellis.
Yeah, this is potentially going to save the city and a lot of businesses and others involved in construction a lot of money, given that the price of the aluminum cable is much less than copper and yet provides the same degree of safety. I talked to a number of electricians and electrical supply places, and they're really excited that we're moving forward, hope to be moving forward on this.
Okay, any other discussion?
I just have a general question on this. Did this one go through a specific committee?
Yes.
Okay, so it went through. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Go ahead, Councilmember Shaw.
Might be slightly out of order, but I appreciate Council President Catchman's question because we have at least one ordinance on here tonight that did not come through a committee, and we have standing committees, and I think all ordinances should be coming to us through a standing committee.
I
Okay.
think we can take care of that in the future, so it goes through one of the standard ones.
We've been kind of adjusting this agenda as we go to see how it works and
I
how it fits
appreciate that,
better.
that's why I brought it
And
up.
so, yeah, and that's exactly what we need is input like that. To get it down so it works well. Okay, next, where are we at here? Did we vote on, we didn't vote on. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? First reading passes. Next item is first reading of Bill 2311, an ordinance amending chapter 5.06 of the Aberdeen Municipal Code relating to increasing the notice period prior to substantial rent increases.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Under discussion.
I have a couple of questions, and I'm not sure if staff can answer it, but maybe the residents of Leisure Manor can. So we haven't passed this ordinance yet. This is not going to affect the recent rent increase that you've experienced, correct? This won't do anything for that.
Yeah.
And it won't prevent future increases, except for the fact you'll get a little extra time and notice.
Exactly.
But you're still gonna potentially suffer from, again, hopefully not, but substantial increases if they occur. Yeah. How do we usually handle some of these by saying move it from the first reading to the second reading, or can we do that in this particular
Not on the
case?
first
Not on
Not on
the
the first reading, has to go from second to third.
Yeah.
All
And we
right.
need a
A
public hearing,
Well, I thought that we just had tonight.
not an official public hearing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Yes.
Oh, Councilmember Ellis.
We heard tonight concern about the fines, and I'm just curious, does the city have any ability to regulate fines on essentially private property in a situation?
I can definitely look into that.
And the other one would be, can the city require ADA parking in some form for the entire neighborhood?
Do you wanna, Dr. Scott, you wanna answer that question, please?
Thank you. No, it's private property. So when it was constructed, it was built, and so how they regulate that in their own property is how they choose to do it. We could send a letter asking them if they would be willing to do that, but as far as I know, and I see Alex is online, there's no recourse on that for us.
I think kind of, unfortunately, if they did, it'd be like was stated earlier, not convenient from where it's needed.
Yeah, ADA spaces aren't necessarily something that we require with any kind of residential home. Obviously, the homeowner could do that themselves.
Yeah. So could this homeowner apply for an ADA permit or something?
It's private property, so I can't even answer that at this point. I would need to do a little bit of research on that.
Okay, thank you.
So if there was a new development, it seems like they would be required to provide.
Yeah, like an apartment complex or something like that. This was built and already permitted for this specific use. So those requirements when it was built still exist.
Is it possible for the city to ask for something like this when a property is sold? So the grandfathering applies to the existing owner, but if the property is sold, then are we able to impose some
requirement?
I don't know the answer to that. I feel more comfortable talking with our city attorney, but we don't know when properties are sold. We don't get that notification. So we don't necessarily know when properties change hands till after the fact, when it changes hands. So normally if we're gonna trigger something, it would be when the property owner, meaning who owns the entire site, would come in for a permit for something.
There were some questions. John, did you have a question? Okay, was there another question on Zoom?
No.
Okay, anyone else? Councilmember Shaw?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm gonna support this tonight, but I just wanted to share with council that I reached out to staff this week and said, this is the first time that I have knowingly supported an ordinance not fully endorsed by our corporation council because it creates some liability for the city. And one of the reasons that we're even having to deal with this is because the legislature hasn't acted. So I hope that in conjunction with us supporting this, that maybe this city could look at appealing to the legislature to address this issue. And because it should fall on us cities to accept increased liability because the legislature hasn't acted. Thanks.
Okay.
I had another follow-up question. I know in particular, there was the lady here in the blue and white who had talked about getting different fines levied or penalties, such as when a van came up to pick someone up who was disabled. Is there like an on-site manager or something who's monitoring everything 24/7?
Yeah, there is, yeah.
That's just outrageous.
And you got a fine for having a van come up to your front door to pick up a disabled person? Isn't that something we can regulate?
Yeah.
On private property, we don't institute the fines. That's something in the.
No, I don't mean the fine, but just make it legal that a van for picking up a disabled person could come to someone's front door.
That's more a question for our attorney.
Yeah.
This is a unique situation where it is private property and the homeowners own their homes, but they don't own the land that they sit on. They the dues that they pay are kind of like an HOA, so they take care, or they're supposed to take care of the property maintenance or whatever was in their agreement. So there's not a whole lot that we can regulate within there. There are some things on the building permit side, but again, I would really rely on our corporation counsel for answers to this, because it's not an area that I am very comfortable delving into.
If I could follow up on Councilmember Seeger's question, presumably Aberdeen Fire would respond to this neighborhood if there was a 911.
Oh, absolutely, and police department.
And their vehicles would be parked in the middle of the road because there's nowhere else to park. Does that mean the city of Aberdeen could be receiving a $65 fine?
I can't answer that question. I don't.
Probably.
I'm sure emergency services are different by that means, but I did want to add to the conversation, because I know there were a lot of comments about rent stabilization. And one of the things that we're going to be looking at in the upcoming years is really championing the legislation of really hard legislators, because we don't plan under growth management. We're one of a few counties that do not plan under growth management. The problem with that is we're desperate for housing, but because we don't plan under growth management, we're not eligible for the tax credits. A lot of legislation that was looked at this year wasn't even applicable to Aberdeen because we don't plan under growth management. So one of the things that we want to do is start championing the legislature, and again, with our city administrator, we'll be working on that in the next couple of years, because we don't want to be penalized for not growing. We want the tools to be able to grow so that maybe we can go into growth management and be part of that. But right now, that extra layer of red tape for small jurisdictions is really hard to swallow. but a lot of the benefits are available as well. So it's one of the things we want to try to start championing is some of the housing issues, because again, we haven't really been in that housing market. I remember the days where you could walk down the street and find another apartment. Never in my lifetime did I ever think we'd be in this housing crisis that we seem to be in now. So it's again an education for us. It's not something that we dipped our toe into. So I appreciate where they're coming from, the residents. I understand it. At this point, we don't regulate rent increases. It's not something we do. So again, we're looking forward to working with the legislature in the future and seeing.
Okay. The item on the floor is the first reading of an ordinance amending the Aberdeen City Code relating to increased in notice period, the notice period prior to substantial rent increases. Is there any further discussion on that subject? Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank the Leisure Man Tenants Association for being rock star advocates for yourselves. I'd like to thank you, Ruth, because you worked really hard on this, put a lot of time and effort into it. And I really hope that the council will support this, because I think this is the absolute bare minimum that we could do to offer some security to our seniors. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is first reading of Bill 2312, an ordinance amending the Aberdeen City Zoning Code, Chapter 17-24.
I move we accept the first reading.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to accept the first reading. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is second reading of Bill 2306, an ordinance amending the Aberdeen Municipal Code 10.20.280, updating the fine amounts for various parking violations.
I move we accept the second reading.
Second.
Motion was made second to accept the second reading. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Under discussion, Councilmember Ellis.
For some time, we've talked about revisiting the parking codes, and part of that concern is putting signage where it's not currently legal for people to park, and looking at narrow roads to determine if it's appropriate what we've got now versus how we can make it better. And my understanding was our current parking code is really difficult for the officers to enforce because it's not current, and that this is a little bit of cart before the horse. We're updating our fees or fines, but we still need to update that parking code, and I hope that we get to that this year.
Maybe you could make a motion in the future to have that reviewed and prioritized. Sure. Because I think that's really important too.
Thank you.
I have a question. Isn't the parking portion of a code part of the zoning ordinance overall?
I don't think so.
It's separate?
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Second reading is approved. Moving on, item 6, second reading of Bill 2307, an ordinance establishing a new chapter in Aberdeen Municipal Code 15.40 related to maintenance of vacant commercial buildings in the downtown business district.
I move that we accept the second reading.
Second.
Motion was made and second to approve the second reading. Any discussion? Under discussion, Councilmember Shaw.
I think at our next meeting, we'll be asked to adopt this, so I just wanted to throw out that I noticed in reading the measure that it calls for a report every odd numbered year in January. And I think it might be good for us to, in this first year out, to have a report in January of the first year. And I think I'll be asking for that when we go to adopt it next time, rather than waiting 2 years to see how it's going.
Okay, any other discussion?
Can I make a request that that's included in the third reading?
Well, you could make the amendment to the ordinance. Let the third reading reflect that.
Do you want to amend my motion?
I move that in the first year of the ordinance, we get a report in January.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to amend the second reading. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we're voting on the second reading as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the second reading as amended. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, second reading of Bill 23-09, an ordinance amending Aberdeen Municipal Code 8.08 relating to shopping cart containment and retrieval.
Move, we approve.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Under discussion, Councilmember Cedar.
This is only one of at least 3 elements that were outlined in a letter that we received today from the ACLU. And I want to go on the record and publicly state that, at least for myself, I'm not going to be intimidated by or held hostage by the ACLU, and I will not acquiesce to any demands or threats that they make on this issue or the other issues they raised. I think we have an obligation to ensure a safe and clean city and environment, and yes, respect rights, but also impose responsibilities on where it's necessary. So I just wanted that on the record.
Very good. Councilmember Ellis.
Yes, when I first came on council, I think in 2020, I was on the Public Works Committee and brought this up as my concern that the city wasn't enforcing the code that we had on the books and how to make that stronger, because the city was absorbing all the cost of retrieving and storing and disposing of these carts where they're basically private property. So I'm pleased that this ordinance puts the responsibility back with the store owners and recoups more of the real costs for city staff being involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say real quick, I'd also like to be on the record for the same sentiments that Councilmember Cedar said. You know, we have to look out for our entire city and all its citizens, and I don't think it's good to be badgered by some fringe outside agencies. Thank you.
Boy, could I comment on that, please?
I think we're supposed to say her own.
All right, I won't. Oh, Councilmember Shaw.
Actually, this conversation reminds me of something I was going to bring up under council comments, which was when we do get correspondence relating to items that are on the agenda, I was curious under our new process how we can incorporate that into the record, because they were definitely responding and putting us on notice about their position on 3 things on tonight's agenda. So how do we, get that incorporated so that that information is available to anyone who cares to look and see what we're being told? And maybe we have some correspondence, add correspondence to the agenda or something. I don't know how we can do that, but maybe we just think about that.
I typically, when I receive any kind of correspondence that's addressed to all of you, I do not include it in the official agenda packet unless it's stated in there. Otherwise, I just email it directly to all of you. If you would like it included, I'd be happy to do that. Maybe we can.
Mostly it occurred to me because they were specifically addressing items on our agenda, which struck me more as public comment, kind of like. But also for the record, the shopping cart of the items that they brought up, their comment was curiously misinformed and is supported by the record what our intent is. So I'm very comfortable moving forward with this.
Thank you. I think that's why we just got the correspondence for one thing. For two, it was very frivolous. So I guess that's putting it kindly. And so it wasn't added to the agenda.
And I will be drafting a response, and I would love to send it to all of you before, and our corporate counsel before I send it off for your approval, so.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And that concludes our agenda.
Mayor Shabe, I move to.
Oh, sorry, may I make one comment that the Aberdeen Little League team won the regional championship this last week? There was an article in the paper about them, so.
Very good.
Okay, I move to adjourn.
Second. Motion is made and seconded to adjourn. If there's no opposition, I will adjourn this meeting. We are.
Good night, everybody.